Hey guys, welcome to Zakari Hikari. My name is Zach, and here we learn about everything related to conscious creation, manifestation, and how to shine our own inner lights to create the life of our dreams. So today I wanted to talk about two clients that I were able to basically turn their entire lives around um, in some pretty dire circumstances through the ability to let go of their belief in linear time and believing that their past is what was keeping them stuck in their present reality and giving reality to the conditions around them. But first, I want to talk about what is the concept of time in relation and everything in this channel. And whether you believe it or not, I mean, you're here for a reason. I'm sure you've probably read, a little bit about Neville Goddard, or any of the spiritual greats and the great teachers, and you've been to other YouTube channels. And I'm assuming, and this is my assumption, but most of the audience that is watching this are people who have some type of background, right? And a lot of spiritual teachers, they always talk about the importance of the now moment. And what is the now moment? Why is the now moment so important? And if you've ever read Eckhart Tolle's, the Power of Now, um, I find that it a lot of teachers, and I say this with absolute love, and I think they tend to overcomplicate things by they're either making it, purposefully difficult to understand, or they want to sound, like these big enlightened individuals or whatever it might be. I really don't understand it, but it's so much easier than people are making it out to be. And the purpose of why I felt so called to make this channel for so long is I got it. And I just felt like it's so much easier to understand. So stick with me. And we're going to go through these concepts one at a time and revisit a lot of concepts. And basically what I want to do is share, my client stories and how they were able to turn things around with their lives in relation to using these, concepts. And so to make it easier to understand, because I know that a lot of people, especially early on or in the middle of your journey, success stories tend to help. So, time. When you really break this down, what is time? Right? People say time is a human construct, but there's a lot of reality behind that. Time really is a human construct. If you really were able to understand that you are living in a quantum reality and you are the god of your own individual, uh, you know, reality bubble, whatever you want to call it, your little slice of the consciousness that is all. And it's your little, you dictate the rules, you dictate everything. And you understood that you exist in all possibilities. All of those possibilities are existing simultaneously in the past, in the present, and in the future as unwritten potential. They exist as energy. And what brings them and drops those atoms and collapses the wave is through your conscious focus on one reality and your faith and conviction or belief that that is what occurred. But if you understand that the past only exists as a memory in your mind, taking quantum physics and manifestation and all this stuff out of it, who's to tell you that you just can't be Delulu and go into your mind and just remember things differently? If you were to do that, honestly, if you were to go into your mind and just commit to taking 20 minutes per day for a week and just remembering, and not some of them, there's a lot of, some things will come up if it's a lot of trauma, but if you made this a practice to really go through to some of your big moments in your past and remember them differently from first person and feel the reality of those, your entire life would be different. And the focus that I notice with a lot of people who are doing manifestation and conscious creation, and it's the human nature, and a lot of us fall into this for the same reasons, but a lot of people are looking to change a situation that is urgent, that they feel is urgent, and a specific circumstance in the now moment that's occurring to them right now. But what they're not realizing is their now is oftentimes, not oftentimes, it's always very intricately linked to a past event or series of past events or traumas or whatever you want to call it that happened to you that defined who you believe yourself to be. Okay? Now, what you need to realize is that the past is only existing in your mind, and no one can tell you that you can't remember it differently. Now, stick with me because I know this sounds crazy. I thought this was crazy when I first started, and I'm trying to, but really think about this. Who's telling you when you're thinking of a past memory? Where does that past exist? I mean, are you able to like go into a time machine and travel back to when you were 1 years old and it's literally happening right now? No. And if you even take the quantum physics aspect of it, if there's one, and this has been scientifically studied outside of quantum physics, just human nature, but an event can happen for multiple different, or the same event can happen for multiple different people. And let's just say it happened in one reality. Even though one reality, I mean, it's again, that's a whole different video. But one event happens, everybody within that event is going to naturally already have a different perception of what's going on based on their own views, based on their own mindsets, based on their own perceptions and how they view themselves and their reality. All right? Are we clear so far? So what I noticed for me is when I started and I sat down, and it wasn't easy, because oftentimes when you're remembering some of the traumas that come from your past, a lot of emotions do come up. And I do, it's my personal belief, but I do think that there is something to be said for having stuck emotions in the body that can be released as energy. But oftentimes that's also just what we're holding on to. And again, that's just a limiting belief on my side. But when I sat down in a really intense meditation, and I did this several times, and I did this, I like to do this outside in nature, or I like to get away. I mean, obviously everyone, has different, well, actually everyone's unlimited, but everyone has different capabilities in their immediate reality where they can go. But I like to go to the beaches of Japan. I like to go to the mountains of Japan. I like to go in pure nature. I go on a lot of, my own, I'm thinking in Japanese right now, my own like solo vacations to go out and really connect with myself. And what I would do is just go into my mind, again, visualization, which is just technique, and I would see myself in a certain situation growing up that I would always replay in my mind. And oftentimes the situations that we are holding on to as kids that are stuck in our subconscious mind, or that we keep manifesting from because that's our self-concept, oftentimes we aren't even realizing, or we're not remembering the big ones that really defined, we might think, oh, that wasn't a big deal, or, oh, my mom, she was doing the best she could, and we make excuses for it, but we're not really going in to change it, right? So you can go in, and this is the whole process of Neville's revision, and just completely remember an event differently. Now, this is not needed. This is absolutely not needed for ever. I mean, you don't need to go back and rewrite your whole childhood. You just need to decide who you're being now. But again, for a lot of people, and this is a limiting assumption on everyone's part, but for some people, especially when you're starting out on this journey, that can seem really difficult. And I find that maybe if you can prove better certain relationships in your life by maybe remembering certain things differently and then deciding that they're different now, you build the faith in this law, and you build the faith in the fact of, the law of being, the law of assumption, awareness, whatever you want to call it. You build the faith in it by actually seeing results in your reality. This is not something that can be studied and believed. The only way, and Neville talks about this, the only way you're ever going to really understand this is through actual experience, okay? So I digress, but so for me, that's what I did, okay? And what I noticed is people in my life started changing almost immediately. People who I had lost contact with, or people who I thought that we might have had a blowing up or a falling out or whatever it would be would suddenly reach out. People wouldn't remember certain things that happened. People would remember my new version of what happens, because again, it's one consciousness. It's all being reflected from you. The principle of the reality mirror, whatever you want to call it, everything is just reflecting who you're conscious of being. But when you're looking at the construct of time, people limit their desires, and they limit what they think that they can accomplish because of, and this is several videos that we're going to unpack this, but the biggest construct that people have a really hard time wrapping their head around is the fact that time does not exist. It's a human construct. And going back to Eckhart Tolle, everything exists in the now moment. There's only ever one moment of now. If you think about this, the moment of now is like the 3D world, and it's like a camera frame going over a film strip, but it happens now, 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 now. And each film strip is existing completely independent of what came before it and what came after it. That's why the law of assumption is so powerful, because you can decide in this now moment, this is who I now am. And in the moment that you decide that this is who I am, and it's this person who had this past, whether you define the past or not, but if you decide this is who I am now, I'm this confident, whatever, billionaire, blah, 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 who has a perfect relationship, then your past is going to naturally already shift to lead to become that person that you are now. And that's when you walk across the bridge of incidents. So if you realize that you're the only one who is linking all these moments and now together, it's you. You're the one creating your own limitations based on the concept of time. So let me break this down with a couple clients that I helped. One of them is who I like to call my first client, and he's someone who, for a while, I'm probably going to dig into his story a little bit because it was just a masterclass in how this stuff works. And the other client is somebody who was very recent, and he was able to shift his world within hours. Like, it wasn't even shifting his world in weeks. It didn't take months. It took hours. So the first client is this Japanese individual, and he moved to Europe a couple years ago with this big Japanese company, and he was relocated and placed overseas for an overseas assignment. And within that time, he started to really change and challenge his own beliefs about himself. He felt almost his spirit was feeling called to something greater than the life that he was living. Because honestly, I mean, I find the biggest thing for a lot of people with awakening to this is that you tend to be taken out of a situation of your comfort zone, and you start to see things from a different perspective. But that's neither here nor there. So he started to realize this wasn't the life he wanted to live. This was the life that his parents wanted him to live. And during this time, he decided that he was going to quit his job at the Japanese company and stay in Europe, and he wanted to be an actor. Now, being an actor with no previous acting experience, he didn't even study acting in school, nothing. He had no background in it, but he was auditioning for about a year. And for one whole year, he was not able to get any acting gigs. None. Zero. And he said that he had gone to tons and tons and tons of auditions. And I just mentioned to him, I said, well, have you heard about, let's unpack this, from a manifestation perspective. I think that you could really turn this around really quickly. I know you can. And he said, well, it's just, I've heard about manifesting. I have this girl I go to auditions with, and she's always telling me that, she always manifests her parts and stuff, and I want to believe it, but there's a logical part of my brain that's just not getting it. And I want to understand, can you explain it to me in a way that I can really get it? So we went into it, and essentially, and I'm going to talk about this from different angles over the next couple videos, because there's different, I want to really break this down to a part where you can really get all the teachings from just a few videos. But I know that how this works for a lot of people, and you need the guidance, you need the help. But and God knows I worked with more teachers than I can count. I've been on this journey since 2018, and really started January 2020. I worked with every coach that there was, a lot of the more famous ones as well. But so I talked to him, and I explained to him the concept of time. And the concept of time being that he's already the actor that he wants to be, but he has to choose that identity now. He has to choose the identity and imagine himself and become the version of himself who already got the acting gigs. So you say, how do you do that? So, and this goes back to the perception of I am. I can tell you to affirm all day until you're blue in the face. I can tell you to imagine all day until your brain is about to explode. The processes do work. Don't get me wrong. The processes are very powerful. That's how we focus our attention on who we want to be. But you need to, through those processes, step into the version of yourself who is living that now. And he did that. He took my advice. I said, go down, envision your dream life, and envision who you would be, and then pick a scene that would imply that you've actually gotten the jobs that you want to get, and just decide that's who you are. And in the next game, we're going to talk about the video game concept that I like to think about. But so I just said, decide that you're already that actor now. You already have those jobs. You already have those roles coming to you. Because again, the past does not exist. Time doesn't exist. And he said, okay, you know what? Fine. So I gave him a list of things to do. I said, do the visualizations, like pick who you want to be. We gave him a couple things to do. I said, but honestly, you can't do this half-heartedly. You have to really believe that you are the god of your reality. And if you're doing these things, that's you choosing your life. And your life has to collapse because I am. You are the I am. You are the center of your own reality. And once you put yourself at the center, your world has to conform around it. So a week went by. I can share the text messages. Maybe I'll show these later on like a community post. I don't know. But he messaged me and he said, "Oh my God, holy shnikes." And I was like, "What's up?" He's like, "Zach, you were right. Life is like a video game. I can't believe this." I said, What are you talking about? Do you have time for a call?" So we had a quick call and he said, "Zach, I did everything you told me to do. I just decided and I trusted. And in 1 week, he got two sports brand commercials. One is one of like the top 3 worldwide sports brands. You know the name. Another one I think was a more Japanese sports brand, and the third was like this role in an indie movie. And he was like, I was shocked because it was my first real client that I ever decided to try to teach and see if test my own, not only faith in the law, but my ability to really teach this and break this down for people. And ever since, he's had never-ending roles. I mean, this guy has literally flown all over Europe filming commercials. He's been filming different TV shows. He's been filming all these different things. Sorry, my computer's about to die because my power's not plugged in. Hopefully I'll edit this out. Okay, we're back. So, as I was saying, I tested this as a test client to see if I really had what it takes to test the law. I had manifested a lot of things for myself by that point, and all of these things I'm going to go into eventually at some point. I manifested my house in Tokyo that I absolutely love. I manifested making a lot of money at my job. I manifested permanent residency in Japan. There's a lot of things that I created, but I wanted to prove to myself that I could help others create for their lives. So this guy is now flying all over Europe in the last year. I think it's almost been, it'll be a year in, I think, November, just filming in all these commercials, getting paid for. He gets all these paid trips and filming locations and visiting all these different beautiful places, and he's having all these amazing connections with people, both romantic and non-romantic, and just his life changed. And he still sends me messages to this day sometimes and just says, you absolutely, and it wasn't me. It's never me. It's never the teacher. It's never the coach. It's you. It's you awakening to who you really are. And who you really are is consciousness. Okay? So he let go of this belief in time, and he's now been traveling all over the world. He's been filming all these beautiful locations. He's completely living the life of his dreams as an actor who had no previous acting experience. And now he just goes in, he assumes he's going to get the role, he knows he's going to get the role, he sees himself in the role, and he gets the role. And now just watching his life is just like, oh my God, this guy was working at a Japanese company, and now he is living the life of his dreams as an actor. And all because he was able to do 3 things, and this is the first thing, was he decided to let go of his belief in linear time. Okay? Now, the second client I have, this was much more recent. This was actually maybe like 2 weeks ago or so, reached out to me and was in a state of a really a really dark place. Um, and this client also lives in Europe, and he is engaged to his fiance. And he just kind of said to me, he was struggling with what I think most people struggle with, and that's the feeling of feeling worthy and feeling loved. And for him, you know, he shared with me a lot more of his backstory growing up. It wasn't pretty. There was a lot of abuse. There was a lot of difficult situations, and it was a lot of things that have been manifesting in his life as different health conditions, um, and just a real lack of self confidence and self love, and really feeling worthy of the relationship that he's in, and worthy of attention from people. Um, and I really broke it down with him. And he also said to me, I said, well, how's your relationship going? And he said, honestly, I'm afraid because we had this big blowing out, and I've just been so negative, and I think that we're probably gonna break up. And I was like, oh God, okay. Well, if you think that, then that's what you're creating in your reality right now. So I also sat down and I explained to him the concept of time being a human construct. And I wanted to really challenge him because I wanted him to prove this to himself, because I knew once that he understood this and saw this for himself, he was going to understand it for life. And I sat him down. I said, listen, start remembering everything differently. Because really, when we're remembering the past and we're remembering all those different dramas and traumas and everything that happened to us, all we're doing is remembering it wrong. We're just remembering the past wrong. That's it. We're just remembering it wrong. Remember it how you want to remember it, and that becomes your past. And he kind of laughed. He was like, really? And I said, dude, like, just, who's stopping you? Who's going to go into your mind and say you can't remember things differently? No one's going to say, oh no, this happened when you were 2 years old. The people who it did remember, or the people who were there for it, won't remember it anymore anyways, because once you shift your conscious awareness of it, it shifts in their minds. It's freaking crazy. I have to watch my mouth because I swear like a sailor. I'm from Rhode Island. So he did that. He decided to remember his childhood differently. And I said, now when you're done remembering your childhood differently and you decide who you want to be, I want you to then remember this fight differently. You guys didn't fight. Your fiance is madly in love with you, and that is all that you are going to see. When you think of him, you think of him being madly in love with you. And even from a physical 3D perspective, right? I said, I said, if you think of this differently and you really challenge yourself to remember this fight as not being a fight, but you guys actually had a really loving conversation where you connected, you're gonna be amazed at how quickly this whole situation shifts and turns around for you. It'll be instant. I swear it will be instant. But even from a non-manifestation perspective, his fiance had posted a picture on Instagram, and it was like one of those multiple pictures, and the last picture was a picture of him. And I said, can you see that even without a manifestation perspective, even through this conversation, I am now challenging you because your reticular activating system is so focused on the negative that it's picking up the negative. But the first thing I'm seeing is your fiance showing you and doing an act to reassure you that he is still very much so in love with you. So that's even from a non-manifestation perspective, but even that you're creating right now. So he did it, and he said, okay, well, I'm going to go out tonight. I'm going to have a drink with a friend. I'm going to go out and have a good time. I'm going to enjoy Europe and, do my thing. So the next morning, I messaged him, and I said, how is everything with, the situation? He said, Zach, I came home, and he was just so loving, and he wouldn't take his arms off me. He was just so in love with me. And I felt the love. And when I went out to the bar with my friend, I noticed all these other guys were showing interest to me that I had never even thought that I would get before. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing it, and it was an instant shift. So guys, you gotta understand The concept of time is only in your mind. You are the I am. I am that I am. I am who I imagine, I am who I affirm, and I am who I assume myself to be. I am that I am. You are the conscious awareness that is animating your entire life. And, one of the reasons I named this channel Zakari Hikari is because Hikari in Japanese means light. It's one of my favorite kanji. It's always been one of my favorite kanji. People, laugh, but I have the Hikari tattoo on my arm since it was the first tattoo I ever got. And I always felt like there was something inside of us that if we could all tap into, that we would be able to save ourselves. And one of the main things that you need to do on this journey, and this is one of the first steps, and I think this is one of the most important steps, is you need to accept and let go and work at letting go of your linear belief in time. And the easiest way to do that is to test it. Try revising. It doesn't have to be, and I know a lot of times we say we're going to do it, we say we're going to go revise, we're going to do the work, and then what we end up doing is we just keep scrolling and watching more videos and more from our favorite creators, and we start to see more, and we were like, yeah, I get it. Try it. Literally try it, and then decide who you are right now. And every time your mind wants to remind you of something that you think happened, no, that's not what happened. I'm in this reality now. This is my life now. This is who I am now. This is the past that I had now. This is who I'm choosing to be now. This is the life that I have now. This is me living with, the life of my dreams, with the partner of my dreams, and the money that I want, and the job that I want. And nothing bad ever happened to me because I had the most perfect life because I am God. Rawr. So, okay. That was a long-winded explanation. Again, I'm going to dig into this more, but do the revision. Close your eyes, see a scene from your past, decide how you wanted it to go, put yourself in the first person, feel it as real as possible, hear the sounds, see the faces, and every time you do it, stick with one scene. Try one scene for a week. And if you want, and honestly, people have different thoughts on this. I think that you can manifest as much as you want and simultaneously as much as you want. You can pick one scene that implies everything. But if you want to do one scene from your past and one scene from your recent past, do that as well. But keep doing it. And every time you imagine it, you want to keep adding another tone of reality. You want to flesh it out more and more. It's like you're doing a painting, and every time you're adding a different layer of depth to the painting using your senses. So maybe one night you see, you're having dinner with somebody. I just to give you an example, and you see the napkins on the table, and then you see the napkins on the table. Now they have a certain embroidery on them, and you feel them as you put you flatten your hand out, whatever it might be. But you want to be adding it to the point that it becomes so vivid and so real to your mind that your mind cannot distinguish between if it actually happened or if it's just in your imagination, because imagination is reality. And when you understand that there's no separation between the two, your life is going to change. And the first thing you need to do is understand that time is a human construct that you're creating, and you're linking those frames together, and every frame is a chance to decide who you are now. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Again, I'm just getting on here. I've wanted to make this channel for a few years now. I really want to do this in Japanese, which is my next big challenge, but I want to kind of get a flow going in English first. And I want to help people. That's really all I want to do. I want to have these conversations in a way that I can really kind of guide people, because I feel like I truly am, at a point where I've kind of mastered this law. And I want to help other people get to the point where you don't need any more YouTube videos. You don't need to be stuck in this endless loop. I'm never going to sell... I hope I don't ever sell a bunch of courses, because that's not at all my intention. I have a full-time job that, I do quite well right now anyways, that I very much enjoy. But I really want to help you guys get this. I've been through the ringer. I've been there. I've manifested the life of my dreams I've wanted since I was 9, mostly unconsciously. And then when I stepped into the conscious awareness, it just took off. And I want to help you guys all get what you want. So thank you. Again, don't be afraid to shine your inner light. You are the light of your reality. You're the one consciousness. And I'll catch you next time. Okay? Bye, guys.